Hello, and welcome to a new episode of Set Listing Bruce, your podcast all about Bruce Springsteen, his music, and mostly his fans. I am your host, Jesse Jackson. Today is a bonus episode, but I needed to give a shout out and a tribute to one of my new favorite podcasts. It is called the Story Song Podcast. It is available everywhere you get your podcast, and it has quickly become one of my favorite things that happens every other week. Dan, Rachel, and Michael are the host. They do a podcast where they pick a story song, just like it says, a song that tells a story. And then they break that song apart. Dan, Rachel, and Michael start out with a very short synopsis. Then they break down the song lyric by lyric. They play a few lines of the song, then go through, they overanalyze, they make jokes, they overthink. It's just hilarious. Then they do a shared universe. They connect the current story song with other story songs they have discussed. Then when they come back, after their break, they give the story behind the song. They talk about the artist, the time periods, what about the song, why it was recorded, how it did on the charts, how it received. And then they wrap up the podcast with lessons learned. What did they learn from listening to the song? And those are normally very humorous. In fact, I would say they were always humorous. The whole podcast is a blast, and I am desperate to get Dan, Rachel, and Michael joining me so that we could break down a Springsteen story song in that fashion. I think that would be a lot of fun. They don't have guests on their show, or else I'd be begging to let them join me on their show. So, in honor of Dan, Rachel, and Michael, here are 10 Springsteen songs that I think would be perfect for them to discuss. Obviously, let's start out with Born in the USA. It's the story of a young man who got in a little local jam. The River would be another great one. It's a story about, is a dream a lie if it doesn't come true, or is it something worse? From Nebraska, Highway Patrolman. Two brothers take turn dancing. Western Stars. An elder Western movie actor talks about his glory days. Used Cars, where we go car shopping and eat ice cream. Atlantic City, where a woman puts on her red dress and gets a new hairdo. Another one, All That Heaven Will Allow, where our hero tries to get out of paying a cover charge. My Hometown, where a father ignores local seatbelt laws. Glory Days, the story of a hookup while the children are sleeping and a high school jock who won't give it up. And last, but certainly not least, Hungry Heart, where our hero takes a road trip that lasts a long time. So there you go, my choice of some of the many story songs from Mr. Bruce Springsteen that I think would be great on the podcast. Another wings I thought of, Out in the Street, One Step Up, Tougher Than the Rest. Streets of Philadelphia is certainly a great story song, but I don't know if it would be that good for a comedy podcast. Anyway, I hope you guys check out the Story Song Podcast. You can go to storysongpodcast.com. You can find it on Apple Podcast, Amazon Podcasts, Spotify, Podchaser, anywhere you want. Their Twitter is at story_song. They have a Facebook page. I would love a lot of my listeners to go to their Facebook page and post, hey, I heard about you from Set Listing Bruce, so that they will get a lot of love. Dan, Michael, Rachel, you guys are awesome. I admire your talent and the sense of joy you have discussing these wonderful songs. Please keep it up. Thank you for bringing joy into my life. I've needed it a lot during this fall as I make some trips back and forth visiting my mom after her stroke. It's nice to lose my mind with Springsteen music, but it's also good to get my mind off all my troubles by laughing because you three are just incredibly clever and a truly wonderful podcast experience. All right, that's it. Go to iTunes, rate and review them. Give them some love. Tell them Jesse from Set Lusting Bruce sent you. For now, my lessons learned. Sometimes you find a podcast that meets you where you need it to be. Goodbye. Doing a podcast at times can be a one-way conversation, and I hate that. So please let me know what you like and don't like about the work I'm doing. You can reach the podcast via email at setlustingbruce@gmail.com. The show is on Twitter at SetLustingBruce, and my personal Twitter is at JesseJacksonDFW. You can support the podcast by subscribing via your favorite podcast player and leaving us a review. The more reviews we have, the easier it is for people to find us. And please tell a friend about the podcast, especially if they love Bruce or music, because it will make a difference. You just heard the fun talking, hard rocking, music loving, album ranking, fan thinking, joy spreading, lyric reading, story sharing podcast that is the one, the only Set Lusting Bruce. The theme for Set Lusting Bruce was written by David Rosen, used by permission.